So, okay, way back to the beginning, which isn't that long ago, because it's only like a little under a week. So, Johnny and Jenny, better grab a calculator, are purchasing a really expensive home in California. They agreed to 20% down payment. Okay, this one's real straightforward. I'm not going to get too cute with this. You just got to multiply it by the decimal form of the percentage. That will be the simplest thing we deal with this whole time. It's just getting that set. Because the rest of these either have multipliers or percentages or additional steps that we're going to have to play with a little bit. I'm going to try and do in colors to make this a little bit easier. So, okay. Michelle applied for a $425,750 loan at an annual interest rate of 5%. We needed to simplify this a little bit. The loan is for a period of 20 years. We played in equal monthly installments that include interest. Find the monthly payment. What is the total amount of interest charged? Okay, so first things first. When we're trying to figure out this stuff with the monthly payment, so we'll kind of call this number one. We're going to take whatever our loan is, divide by 1,000, and then I got to pull up my chart here for the first time. So the 1,000 again is basing off of the chart that it's off per $1,000 of your loan. It doesn't mean that's the loan in whole. So that's where the 1,000 comes from. And then we're looking at 5% for 20 years. And that's going to be how I find my multiplier as far as those go. So once I have that, that's going to give me my monthly payment. So number one, check. What's the total amount of interest charged? Now this takes a little more work because now I need to find out, okay, how much am I paying over the life of the loan? Because I don't see what my monthly payment besides this is anywhere where I could break it into pieces. So if I take my monthly payment, 20 years, we're going to want to do in months. So 20 years times 12 months would be 240 payments that I'm making at that particular monthly payment. Unless I pay stuff off early or something like that. So 674, 388 is my total that I paid, but that's not the answer. The total amount of interest would be the difference between the total I end up paying and the amount of my initial loan that I paid back. So there's a little more to it. 248, 638. That's my interest. Just a mere $250,000. Hey, drop in the bucket. So that second part, we're going to have two steps. I got to figure out what I paid back, then I can figure out my interest. Still not bad, just a little different. All right, Dave's got a mortgage. All right, that wouldn't be true in reality, but hey. The home has a selling price of $273,739. He agreed to a 12% down payment. Okay, so let's kind of fast forward a little bit here. So the closing costs will be part of the mortgage. Here comes all the closing costs. So what are the closing costs? And then what is the actual amount financed? Okay, so first we got to get this 12% out of there that he already paid because that's not going to be part of this at all. So part one. I'm going to try and write smaller. If I write too small, let me know. So 12% down. So that's my down payment. But within that, now, So we're still not done with this first part quite. So we're going to take the price of our home, subtract the amount we paid already. Because we're going to need how much that loan or that mortgage is before we start doing our calculations here. Okay. So that's my mortgage, the $240,000. You're like, Hardy, that is neither of the answers we want. It's true, but we needed that first. So now, I look in, what are the total closing costs? Well, at least that's nice. All I'm going to do for that is add these up. So that's all I'm going to need for my first answer is whatever the sum of those is going to be. So I got $5,066 in closing costs. So we got that part done. So what is the actual amount financed? So the only part left now is to take the part that I didn't cover in the down payment and add these closing costs that I just calculated. And that will leave us a mortgage of $245,956.32. And that takes care of part 2. So there's the 2 parts I needed. We just had to do one part in advance to get a little bit situated ahead of time. Let's see here. Kim and Lamar, 30-year mortgage, interest rate 6.5%. Monthly payment is $4,220.40. For the first payment, what is the interest? What's the payment to principal? What's the new principal? Okay, 3 pieces this time. That's going to be a little bit of a theme here for a bit. So we didn't see anything about a down payment, so we're going to assume we're rolling with this $574. So let's see. We need the interest rate. And I also need, if you remember back, since this is monthly, okay, every time we talk about monthly, it's 1/12 of a year, or the decimal we talked about during the unit was 0.083. You can use 1/12 here too. It's going to be close enough that it's going to get us so this first number we get, that's the interest that we're paying monthly. Now, you're like, Hardy, let's see. For the first payment, what's the interest? Hey, okay. We got that. Okay, what's the payment to principal? So, here, there's what I'm paying minus the interest that I paid. That's going to leave me with the principal. So I paid a little over $1,100 in principal. 2 down. Just making sure the door wasn't locked. And so finally, what's the new principal? That would be taking the total of your loan minus the principal that I paid. Not the whole payment, just the principal. Lots of pieces on this one. And I get all 3. So again, fancy, no. Lots to do, yes. All right, halfway home. Jordan, 15-year, $329,500 mortgage, interest rate's 5%. Monthly payment is $2,605.67. After the 12th payment, he has a new principal balance of $298,452.10. For the 13th payment, what's the interest? Ooh, okay. Here come the parts again. All right. first part. We're going to take the current principal balance, not the original, this new one, because we've already made some payments. So we're going to take that times the interest rate times the 1/12 again, because we're talking about individual monthly payments. So you're like, wait, that's what we did up here when we were looking for the interest. That's what we're looking for here currently on this next payment. So in some ways, this one's going to be similar. Okay, so there's our interest for this payment. Check. Next, let's see, what's the payment to principal? We know what the monthly payment is. We know the interest. So, monthly payment minus interest is going to tell us how much was paid on the principal. A lot of accounting and stuff like that, not that it's complex, it's just you've got to have some logic, a little bit of common sense now and then. So 2 down. What's the new principal? Okay. Now again, that's your old principal. You're like, where's the 329 coming from? It has nothing to do with anything we're doing in the problem at all. There as a distractor. And just subtract the principal, no more. And there's your new principal. So a lot of similarities there between those two. So then we move into the world of tax with this. Jen's living in Charleston, South Carolina. Rate of assessment's 49% of market value. Tax rate's 58.63 mils. The county assessor determined that the market value of her home is $171,770. What's the real estate tax in her home? Okay. Steps again. Would help if I had the right number. Okay, $171,770. Only being assessed at 49%. That would be wonderful. Because now Jen is only paying taxes on a little over $84,000. That's nice. Now, what's the real estate tax? That is not the answer we want yet. Okay. So next, now that I know that, we're going to take the mills that are needed. Similarly to when we were doing the interest payment earlier, we're going to divide by 1,000 because that's going to get me my tax rate. Oops. Helps if I put the decimal point in. Okay, there we go. And don't round off. Go ahead and take that out. That's the tax rate. Okay, we're getting close. We want the tax, not just the rate. So here's the end. Take the assessment times the tax rate that we calculated from the mills. And there's the actual number we're looking for. Again, the accountants get the big bucks for going through all the generalized things here, and not necessarily for the crazy math here. So okay, Leon, replacement value of $235,000, insured his home for 90% of the replacement value. Knowing we're going to have to do that anyway, let's knock that out. 235. Now, here is one thing that I did make a boo-boo on when I was making the preview, that I double-checked the quiz already that I did not. So here, the home is of wood frame and has been rated in fire protection class 8. So my extra, wood frame, class 8, notice how these are all in the different thousands. I needed this to be at 211 and I messed this up. So let's fix this. This will not be an issue tomorrow, but we need to have a number that we can use. So we're going to use this. So we had, what class did we have again here? Fire protection class 8, wood frame. So we're going to roll with this, since I made a boo-boo in my other calculation. So 798 we're going to go with here. And whenever you take off the chart, that's the answer. So there's nothing you're going to use to calculate anything here. Once you see what it is and the amount of coverage, we're just going to pull that off and have that work. Last one. Jake, housing costs. Okay, here's all these housing costs. Here comes the 30% rule. So only two pieces this time. So for my monthly costs, we're basically just adding all those up. Just like budgeting in itself is, it's not the roughest thing in the world to do. It's just, are we willing to put the time commitment in, because it's not the most glorious thing ever to do. So there's Jake's costs. Part 1 done. Does he meet the 30% rule? This is where we're going to use his income. So if Jake's going well with what we want to do here, he's only going to be spending 30% of what he makes. That is more than what he's spending, so yes, Jake actually is doing a good job. If this would have been lower than the 1208, then we'd have had a little bit of a problem. We'd have had a no, like most of the ones that we dealt with yesterday. So, quiz-wise, that's kind of what you're looking at tomorrow, except with an insurance premium sheet that's not messed up. Now, on the back, because sometimes to see some things again besides the problems we do in an application isn't a bad idea. So I do want to kind of get you started here. So Merrick took out a 30-year, $290,000 mortgage loan. The interest rate was 4.125. His monthly payments $1,405. Answer the questions using the first year of the amortization schedule. So a lot of this is just going to be kind of looking at things to see, describe the difference between the amount of the monthly payment that goes to principal between payments 1 and 12. What's happening to the principal? Describe the amount that goes to interest from the start to the end. And again, this is only year 1. How much of the loan balance? Well, it went from 290, now it's here. How much has it gone down? So here's the thing. When you get down below, now it's halfway home, okay? It's year 15. So you're going to be doing the same calculations that you did, but you're going to start to find some larger gaps in some places and some changes to what those payments are looking like. So play with this again. We'll have this get included when we turn in the practice stuff as a larger pointed one with that, because there's not going to be like an answer key that you can look up. You just got to kind of play with it a bit, but it's still not going to be anything that should be too stressful. And then tomorrow with the quiz, I've got one more piece that's going to go with it too, not part of the quiz, but its own thing, to kind of wrap up the housing and get us ready for some of the personal finance that we will start the day after